Are you a buyer struggling with qualifying on your own to buy in this crazy interest rate market that we have right now? You need to be listening to this show. Hey, it's Melissa Harmel with eXp Realty, and I'm here with one of my favorite loan professionals here in Alaska, Rhonda Johnson with Cornerstone Home Lending. Hey, Rhonda.
Hey, Melissa.
So, Rhonda, can you tell our viewers how long you've been in this crazy business we call mortgage?
Since 1983. So guess what next year is going to be? The big 40. Oh my gosh.
40 years of lending. So I would have
Yeah.
to say, if anybody has seen it all in Alaska, it would be you.
A lot of it, that's
Been
for
through
sure.
all of our ups.
Yeah, and you've been doing this an awful long time as well.
Yes, I have been selling real estate for a long time, and you and I have been working together for quite some time now.
Right.
And so, for you guys watching, you know that the news is talking about raising interest rates and everything else. And so, when we have first time home buyers, one of the questions that I always get when somebody calls me, like today, I got a call on one of my listings. It's a $250,000 ranch, little listing, cute as a button. And it's a first time home buyer. And my first question to a buyer is, well, are you going to pay cash or are you going to need to get a mortgage? So, second call we always make is to Rhonda in, hey, this person likes this house. What do we do about getting this person qualified? So I know that in the past, we've been able to do some financing with adding a co-borrower
Yeah.
to a loan. And I think that's what, FHA
Yep, you're
and
absolutely right.
conventional. So can
Right.
you talk just a little bit about that?
Right. So FHA is a really good option for us because you can get in with like a 3.5% down payment. And the one product that for all my career has always allowed a non-occupant co-borrower to help you borrow the money to buy your home. And so usually it's parents or family members that are going to help you to qualify to make those payments if you just can't quite qualify on your own right now. Conventional also will allow it. It wasn't a big choice in years past because the borrower still had to qualify to a certain point for the payments, whereas with FHA, the borrower could have zero income and mom and dad could still co-sign with you and you could buy your home. So FHA has always been kind of the go-to. It doesn't really work with VA unless you're all going to live in the home or you're married or you're all veterans. So you all have to live in the home and either you all have to be veterans or married. Otherwise, cosigners don't work for VA. Does not work for USDA. They require that you live in the home.
Okay, so non-occupant co-borrower. So I could talk with her a little bit about that today. Now, I did hear through the grapevine that Alaska Housing, which of course we all love here in Alaska. And if you're not familiar with Alaska Housing Corp was started years and years ago after the pipeline. And so that money was invested, and Alaska Housing, in my experience of doing real estate up here in Alaska, has always come up with some interesting and creative programs throughout the years to take that money and use it for home ownership benefits to people in our communities, not just in Anchorage, not just in the valley, but all over the state of Alaska.
Absolutely.
So didn't Alaska Housing just announce that they're going to do something even a little different than the whole thing with FHA co-borrower or conventional?
This is like big news for us, Melissa. So, in again, almost 40 years that I've been doing this, Alaska Housing has never allowed a co-borrower unless they were going to occupy the home and be on the loan with you. And so, just recently, they announced the opportunity for non-occupant co-borrowers. Another rule that they had was that you always had to be an Alaskan resident. So we always had to have an Alaska driver's license to show that you were an Alaskan resident. They've eliminated that requirement for the non-occupant co-borrower as well. Now, as you said, Alaska Housing's very much their entire mission is to help Alaskans into affordable housing. And so they have a lot of programs for first-time homebuyers, veterans, low-income borrowers, and so many of them are income sensitive. Well, when you add in a co-borrower, generally speaking, their income has to be counted towards those income limitations, and it's going to kick our borrower out of those products. But Alaska Housing has created this as a co-signer, which means the co-borrower, the co-signer, doesn't have to be actually on the title to the property, so we don't have to count their income against you for these income limitations, but we do get to count the income to help our homeowners qualify for that home.
Wow.
And so they've created this extremely unique, valuable product that doesn't exist with any of the other lenders or investors, where you can count the income, but it doesn't kick you out of the good programs. So we can still get our first-time homebuyers in with the lower interest rate, an additional 0.5% to 1% off that interest rate if you're low income, and the parents can help you qualify for it, but their income doesn't eliminate you from these products. It's amazing. So kudos to Alaska Housing. Really great opportunity for Alaskans.
Well, and because the conversation that seems to be happening right now is that housing is becoming slightly unaffordable for a certain group of income-driven people. And so this would allow a parent to take their credit, their backing, show it to the lender, and let their daughter or son go buy something, knowing that their son and daughter are set up, they'd be fine, but they just don't have that long history or that job history of 5, 10, 20, 50 years. Yeah. And that seems to that will be a huge benefit for people. And so my understanding in Alaska is that not all lenders are able to do Alaska Housing. Isn't it a lot? If you're a local lender, like local bank, credit union, like Alaska USA, I know they can do it. Northern Skies can't do Alaska Housing loans.
Right.
I think Wells Fargo can do Alaska Housing loans.
Yep.
But then again, too, all these other little lenders running around town, because I know this week alone, I'm getting messages from lenders from companies that I never even heard of. Right. Because of course the refis have dried up. So they're all reaching out to me, a listing agent, trying to get my business. But don't you have to go through an approval process with Alaska Housing to become an approved lender?
Right. So you have to be local. So you have to have your local presence. And none of the online lenders, so the
Quicken Home Loans,
all of that stuff, they cannot do the Alaska Housing loans because Alaska Housing has not approved them as a lender to do their loans. So really, you can go onto the website at ahfc.us and you'll see the list of lenders there. We're absolutely an approved lender, and we utilize Alaska Housing a lot because they just get it. They get the uniqueness of Alaska. I know every single state always says, well, we're different here. But believe me, Alaska really is different here. And Alaska Housing gets it. And so they are willing to be reasonable about it because we don't always fit nice and neat in the little national box, right? And so
we don't have the cookie cutter houses where they're just a different tile roof and a different stucco paint on the outside.
Exactly. And so it's a really, really great resource. And this just opened up a lot of doors for a lot of homeowners to be able to qualify now that couldn't before.
So do you have a flyer or something on that?
I don't, but let me work on that for you.
Yeah, we'll do that because we'll put it in our listings, especially the ones that are first-time homebuyer type properties. Also, too, I can see it for some of my clients who have condos to sell and they're having their second baby and they want to move up. Mom and dad would much rather give them some kudos or help this way as opposed to necessarily helping buy the house. This just would help them. And so they're a co-signer, not a co-borrower. So that's good because we have had that problem before when we've had co-borrowers. Their income is way up here. The buyer's income is way down here, but you mush them together. And now that poor little buyer doesn't necessarily get to benefit from those low income interest rate reductions, correct?
Exactly. You're exactly right. Yeah. So this is super, super unique. This is the only investor that I know of anywhere that does this mix. And so it's super, super smart.
Well, and if we remember when interest rates were higher, because of course, somebody of your caliber that's been in the business for 40 years as we've talked about in previous shows, interest rates were around 14% at one time, 18% at one time.
Oh, yeah.
So lenders were creative in how they were lending money. So this just sounds like to me that Alaska Housing said, hey, what's the harm in this?
Right.
I mean,
right.
we got this other person that's a guarantor on the note.
Yes, exactly.
So
exactly. It makes it
slam
stronger
dunk
for
for
them.
us.
Yeah, exactly. But still keep it affordable for the person actually making the payments. So don't penalize them.
Very smart. Again, Alaska Housing always coming up with something new and cool.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. It was a big eye opener when we saw that memo come out, and I was like, holy moly, okay, this is good news. So that's really exciting.
So if you're watching this and you have been qualified with an out-of-state lender, you need to ask, are they able to do Alaska Housing? I would do what Rhonda said, is go to ahfc.us, and they have a button you can click that says approved lenders. You need to see who the approved lenders on. Of course, at the end of this show, Rhonda's contact information is on one of the slides. Reach out to her. Again, this is why we do this show weekly, because things do change in the real estate market. None of us have a crystal ball and we can tell you exactly what's going to happen throughout the whole year. Exactly. And we just talked 2 weeks ago and this wasn't even on the radar.
No. So yeah, very fast moving changes, and we like to make sure that we get it out there as fast as we can to everybody.
And so if you would like to talk to Rhonda, because again, if you are a person renting right now, I believe what I heard this week about rents in Anchorage have gone up 2.8% in the last 6 months, and they're already high. Most landlords that I work with are actually talking about increasing the rents prior to signing new leases because they can, because the demand is so high. So if you're thinking about buying, I think your first stop is to have a conversation with Rhonda. You can easily schedule a calendar invite with her. She has a Calendly link that's super slick. You can look at it, schedule a time to get with her. She'll do this same kind of call with you, or she'll get on, she'll meet with you face to face, so you don't have to drive into her office. And it's really great. And she can talk to you about all the different options of buying.
Anywhere in the state.
Anywhere in the state. Yep. So please like our show, subscribe to my channel. If you want to find me on all my social media channels, it's just Melissa Harmel Realtor. And again, we look forward to hearing your comments. And if you would like us to talk about something, please reach out to either me or Rhonda. We are live people. We do actually work in the state. We live in the state. We answer our phones and we do respond to email. So Rhonda, I'll see you next week.
All right. See you next week, Melissa.